Check, 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 check. Good, looking good, looking good. All right. A little wiped out. All right, welcome to Evidence-Based Audio Engineering. This is number 161, and I'm calling this I Told You So, It's a Dongle. And couldn't really decide which one of those two to use, but I just had to use both because I did tell you so, and it is a dongle. And I've been waiting 20-something years to say this, and here we go, and I am vindicated. But I don't want to be one of those YouTube channels with the dumb clickbait and stuff. You probably already know the spoiler, but we'll go on to what I had chronologically anyway. So, first of all, Ken. Now I can't see. I really need to take better care of my glasses. Okay, Ken Cornetet something on Facebook. He's on the Line 6 Pod Go family user group. Hold on this side. Me just clean. I'm really sorry about this. All right. Okay. So Ken Cornetet, I don't know how you say it. He says he's posting on the Line 6 Pod Go Facebook group on Facebook group on Facebook. He says, hold off on removing the tone suck capacitor. Last night, I decided to do my own measurement of the input impedance of the Pod Go. I measured 205 kilo ohms at 1 kilohertz, by the way. So remember that number, 205 at 1K, okay? Or 205K at 1K. I connected a function generator to the Go using a pot in series with the hot lead. Is that right? A pot in series with the hot lead. Okay. I used channel A of my scope to watch the voltage of the function generator and channel B to watch the voltage at the input of the Go. One thing I noticed right away was that the signal at the Go's input had quite a bit of high frequency noise. So I suspect that the 1 nanofarad capacitor input shunt is there to attenuate high frequency noise coming from elsewhere in the circuitry. If that's the case, then it would be problematic to remove it. This is preliminary. I need to verify tonight that the noise isn't coming from elsewhere. In this pic, the higher amplitude signal is the output of the function generator. The lower amplitude signal is the input of the Go with the series pot set to 250K or 205K. The amplitude of the signal at the Pod Go input is half of that of the signal generator, indicating that the pot is set to the same impedance as the Go's input. Notice the fur and spikes on the signal at the Go's input. That's high frequency noise. So he's got a picture of a oscilloscope, and he's there testing the impedance of this device. Now, you guys like to make all kinds of claims and stuff. Claims, bald assertions. Here's how you do it with actually doing a test. Like, this is why I don't believe you guys' magical claims half the time, because you don't actually test this stuff. So I think that Line 6 had claimed, and let's just look this up. Line 6. Can't type. Line 6 Pod Go input impedance. According to somebody on Line 6 forums, it looks like the Pod Go frequently asked questions thread had said 1 mega ohm. People talk a lot about impedance.
Got a piece of string.
I don't know where it is. Malu probably does. Yeah, that's Malu's got one of everything.
Yeah, awesome.
So, I always hear people talking about impedance. I try different impedances on different. I hear like fuzz pedals are supposed to use way lower impedance or something. I try different impedances and I never really get. I don't really get anything interesting out of it. So I'm not really sure how this stuff works. I know I should, but on the guitar, I really don't hear, unless it's just way too low of impedance, like less than 10K. But anyway, this guy's checked it. It's not the 1 meg that people are claiming, and so that's interesting. And guess we got to research some more. I'm not exactly sure if he's doing it right, but let's see. Somebody says 205K is unacceptable input impedance and very far from the declared value by line 6. But if I were to go to the radial JDI input impedance, which is one of these boxes, I don't know if you can see it here on my desk. One of the DIs that I use, not because it's better than anything else. It's just that that's the one people trust. So if they, when you get all these people claiming, like we're going to have in a little while, claiming that you don't have the gear, so that's why your ears can't tell or whatever. It's the one that everybody likes. This one, the input impedance is 140 kilo ohms, 140K. So this is way less than the Go even measured. And somehow that thing's okay. People love it. They rave about the radial JDIs as the direct box, whatever. It's got less input impedance than that thing. So I don't know what you really need, but I would suspect that infinite input impedance would probably be ideal for pickups. You always hear in the old days, if you don't use a direct box, you're loading down your pickups or whatever. I don't know that I ever really noticed a difference since I play active pickups, but for all I know, who knows? Let's see, did anybody actually... They talked about what different frequencies... It was something near a meg. I think it was like 750K down in the low end, like 300 hertz or something. But then again, this thing works pretty damn good. And, if it's really important to you, then sure. I think it's neat that somebody actually checked this. It's neat discussion starting. It's neat that we're actually talking about real numbers, not just making crap up. This is the way you do it. You wanna post this stuff, this is how you do it. So this is pretty cool. That's the Line 6 PodGo family user group, official and original. Okay, so next thingy. Digitech. They have this Digitech Genesis guitar processor, and it looks so much like the Quad Cortex and all these other things. It looks like 8 foot switches plus up-down switches, some knobs, a pretty big screen, and some instant action knobs right below those or whatever. 75 amplifier models, 300 cabinet models, 200 studio effects, 47 microphone models, blended amplifiers, advanced pitch shifting, ultra fast switching, hybrid amp blending, adjustable microphone placement, tube clone processing, advanced effect shaping. Digitech has been up and down over the years, but there was a time there in the early 90s where they were up and neck with everybody. And the TSR-24 was like, they called it the poor man's Eventide, and it really was. It seems like some of the stuff kind of took a step backward, but this looks like something that they should be proud of. I mean, I like their old form factor, with the racks and everything, but this is looking good. It's looking like a Quad Cortex. I wonder what it's going to cost. Is it going to exist? It just was April Fool's joke. Was that the company with the grid that you can move in 4 different directions? Yes. Somebody says, for what it's worth, the IPB-10 was what killed Digitech. I wonder why. I guess these people know some of the Digitech guys. It'd be nice to see. I think this guy, Tom Van Cram, maybe he was one of the Digitech guys. Wow. Okay. So this is the guy who took over Digitech. Interesting. I don't remember what the IPB-10 was. I remember the IP-33, which was like the intelligent pitch shifter. IP-10B. Let me see what this is. Digitech. Programmable pedal board for iPad. They're saying that this killed Digitech. $899. Wow. Interesting. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe this was their version of a Helix. Looks okay. Just kind of plasticky, The Digitech GNX or whatever thing was okay, but I don't know. It's hard to say. But they're saying that this killed Digitech. I don't know. Anyway, Digitech's got something. It'll be interesting to see what it costs. I'm constantly amazed that people are still out there that either don't know that Digitech DoD is dead or who believe that somehow Samsung is going to revive the Brown. So what? Is there actually, is this an April Fool's joke or is this thing going to get sold? I mean, you know, I loved my GSP 21 back in the day at 2101. TSR 24. Yep, it's an April Fool's posting. Nice. It'd be nice to see that sucker go, though. Okay, so now we got, you know, we were talking about this thread, high-res audio before, but here's exactly what I'm always talking about. These guys that just make assertions, they have no idea what they're talking about, and they just, because they can't convince you of their religion, they say that you can't hear it because you got bad ears, or you can't hear it because you can't afford the real gear. You guys know I'm notorious for taking pictures in front of $1 billion mic preamps and using Behringer crap, right? I mean, I've got the stuff. The problem is that reality doesn't agree with them. When you measure this stuff or when you test them, they can't tell the difference. They can't hear the things they claim to hear. And most of the time, the stuff tests the same anyway. So listen, this is like the ultimate God of the gaps, moving the goalposts, no true Scotsman argument. I mean, this is how Woosters work. So here we go. He says, what has long been interesting to me is that most of the people who deride the experience of others who can directly discern minute differences in ABCD listening tests are people who have never done such a test. No, that's not true at all. Well, I mean, it could be true for some people, but I've done those tests. I've taken part in those tests. I've tested people, and they've failed. And by the way, really, if you're going to come on here, you better know ABX, because that's usually the one that we're going to be talking about. Not ABCD. It's going to be ABX. We want it double-blinded as much as it possibly can be. And I don't care about deriding the experience. I don't care about anybody's experience. That's not a pathway to truth. Experience is not reality.
I know Malu has one, but he's in the middle of something. I didn't want to ask him. Do you have a tape measure in here? I got to remeasure the door just to make sure get it right before I get the door thing printed. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you're talking about epistemology, and we're always using that E word, experience is not a reliable pathway to truth. Experience is experience. But you could have all kinds of experiences that had no basis in reality. And you guys know exactly what I'm talking about. Or, you know, you ever had a glass of wine? I mean, I don't care about your experience. We're not deriding the experience. We're deriding the claims when people make claims without giving any evidence. Evidence is the currency when you're making claims. You know, you can't go to the store and buy a new shirt with bald assertions or telling people you have money. They need money. Evidence is currency. All this assertions is just nonsense. And so here comes the other one, like, oh yeah, you just never heard this stuff. Remember, I was coming from a George Augsburger room with an SSL in it? Never mind. It says, they have never actually been exposed to truly high-end gear and audio sources that are at a level and done properly with matched components where those details and accuracies can be experienced. Wrong. We've shown over and over that there's no difference in these measurements. If there's no difference in those measurements, you can't, in reality, experience a difference. I mean, you can have a false experience, but the reality is that if they measure the same, they sound the same. You can't get away from that. This is such a poisoning the well, just such insulting nonsense. They seem to enjoy repeating talking points of other debunkers who they themselves have no real experience or ability to speak from. Really? You know, here you go, Der. I got a live stream going right now. Jump on here. Tell me I'm wrong. I'm happy to back up what I'm saying. You're just talking a lot of crap and you got no evidence. See, here's the thing. This is whenever people talk about, you know, their religion, they want to knock down your worldview, or they want to say, oh, this is what's wrong with your thinking or whatever. It's because they don't got any evidence. If they had any evidence, they'd bring it. And that's why it's a religion, because they got no evidence. Let's see. Not only that, but they refused to actually sit down in a forum where they could actually have that experience. Really? You can sit down in a forum and have that experience? Most habitual denouncers of most anything seem to only be interested in bloviating about how something is wrong or how they have some magical insight, as opposed to more than 35 years of professional experience into some conspiracy or other. No. See, again, if you had any evidence, you'd bring it. You make a bunch of claims, we call you on your nonsense, and now you want to talk about your moving goalposts and 35 years of professional experience. I don't care how much experience you have. When a file nulls, it nulls. That's all there is to it. Okay. They aren't interested in finding what is true, as that might possibly cause them to have admit to themselves that they had been wrong. Wrong again. Listen, when we're doing science, we are happy to be wrong. When you're wrong, you don't repeat that same stupid thing again. Wrong is the point. You want to disprove everything you're doing. That's the whole point. So you have no idea what you're talking about. I've been wrong about many things through the years. That's why I've looked for actual, true, realistic, provable answers where I can be pretty sure that I know what it is. This is what drove me into engineering. And as a musician, coupling those two things together with my own curiosity and from where I speak from those experiences, not from someone repeating unsubstantiated negativity on a website, like you're doing right now, repeating unsubstantiated negativity on a website. Please note that I am to you just a poster on the website. That's fine, but I am comfortable speaking from decades of actual field experience with more than related background with the intent to share what I know to be true rather than argue about something. If you knew something to be true, you would bring some evidence. You haven't brought any evidence. You just brought insults. That's all you've brought. So let's talk again about what you know to be true. So he says, I will absolutely agree with you on one point. There's a bunch of snake oil and downright garbage out there that is being sold with impossible, even ridiculous claims. But that doesn't change the reality that differences between audio components and audio delivery systems result in different levels of experiential accuracy. The only reasonably subjective aspect of the discussion is whether or not one person enjoys the differences or not. Being able to hear the differences when presented with properly prepared experiments are objective. Yeah, so bring us those experiments, because every time we bring those experiments, you guys fail it. Every single time. Even if not completely, fully scientifically performed in laboratory conditions. If it was that subtle, it wouldn't matter. But the way you guys talk about this stuff, it's like this giant thing. It's like your Tonewood fantasies. It's nonsense. Says, which of course would be a stupid thing to do, since that would have nothing to do with how a true listener would ever be using the gear. That's sort of true, but if you want to measure something for real, you got to measure it for real. The thing is, these things test the same for the most part. Every time we ABX you guys, you can't tell what the hell you're talking about. So this is just more God of the gaps. This is more moving the goalposts. This is just poisoning the well. And it's pretty much argument by checkbook. He's just claiming, oh, if you don't got the money, you can't. No. But just to be a counter here, there was an AES article on here. I'm not sure when this is from. 2016, Journal of the Audio Engineering Society, Audio Acoustics Applications, Volume 64, Number 6, 2016 in June. Says research finds audible differences with high resolution audio, and are saying listeners can hear a difference between standard audio and better than CD quality, known as high-resolution audio, according to a new study published in the June issue of the Journal of the AES. Now, I'm going to read a little bit more. The meta-study compared data from 18 studies. Okay, you know what we say in medicine, right? Meta-analysis, schmeta-analysis. And I don't care what you guys want to pull out of this crap. If you want to say that ivermectin cures Backstreet Boys reunion tour, you can do it with the meta-analysis. That's why these things are worthless. A meta-study, I want to see results for real. I don't want to see p-hacking or anything else. 450 participants, not bad. Listening to music in different formats. 12,000 different trials where participants were asked to discriminate between formats. Overall, listeners could distinguish between the formats, especially if they had been trained to hear a difference. This is the first time that formal meta-analysis techniques have been applied to audio engineering research. And again, you can call it formal meta-analysis. Meta-analysis, schmeta-analysis. Sorry. In addition to training, the research suggested that careful selection of the stimuli, including use of long-duration samples, may play an important role in the ability to discriminate. Okay, so let's grant that there's a difference. I'm actually not willing to do that for a couple reasons. Maybe we can talk about that in a second. But let's just grant that there's a difference. If it's going to take this much finagling to hear any difference at all, and then they're not even sure most of the time, what good is it going to do? We can talk about it academically, and we like to do that kind of stuff, but this is not going to make any difference to the customer that's playing their stuff in your stuff in their car. None at all. They keep using the word resolution, and I wonder if they're talking about bit depth rather than sample rate, because most people are talking about sample rate, but usually when I see resolution, people are talking about bit depth. Let's see. Studies that did not show an ability to discriminate were generally more prone to biases or flaws in their design. Interesting. Well, it could be. Rice concluded that the perceived fidelity of an audio recording and playback chain is affected by operating at a resolution higher than the CD standard. This is kind of the old source quality rule, right? Audio purists and industry should welcome these findings. But again, I want to see what they mean by high res. If they're talking about 24-bit, I guess you could make a sample where you're fading out a symbol and just start hearing the quantization noise. Then 24-bit would annihilate 64-bit or 16-bit in that case. So I don't know what this is actually testing. They're not saying that this is a higher sampling rate. I may rejoin the AES and I could download this whole thing, but I'm not gonna. But thanks, AES guys. When you're talking about high resolution, you should probably tell what the hell this is. Is this bit depth? Is this sample rate? But thankfully, they're kind of confirming that it really doesn't matter. Okay. And in the face of bald assertions, here we go. It's over at Safe Space, there's a thread called Focusrite versus Audient, which to get, I guess. It says, I need some help and input. Which one of these and why? Focusrite Sapphire Pro 14, Focusrite Scarlett 6i6, or Audient ID22. I think the Sapphire Pro 14 is one of those old Firewire ones that you need to get rid of. Hold on. Focusrite Sapphire Pro 14. Pretty sure that thing's long dead. Yeah, forget. Don't buy that. That's an old Firewire one. No, thank you. Focusrite 6i6. Not bad. Audient ID22. I don't know if these are different channel counts or whatever. But here you go. Bald assertions. The Audient has better preamps and better converters. No, you don't. How do you know? I tested the Audient ID14 and is indeed quite amazing. Gonna get mine, okay? My Audient sounds and works flawlessly, but in PC has more latency. Focusrite Claretta, very nice too. That's weird. You should have much less latency in the PC because you can actually control this stuff. He says, I have a Scarlett box and Audient ID14. I prefer the Audient box hands down. The Audient pre's sound more like a quality console pre's with more clarity and detail. How do you measure that clarity and detail? Because that Focusrite actually tests pretty damn good. Handles transients faster to my ears. Sounds more like analog than other ADC interface I've used. Has the detail of Black Lion audio ADC to my ears with a quality analog path. I can join the choir above. I AD tested these two and one of the ID22. The converters sound better. You have an insert. That's smart. Fine monitor controls. What do you think about how the DAW latencies compare in the specs? It's the same drivers. These are Thessicon drivers, the Sycon, whatever. They're the same drivers. So if there's a latency problem, that's just a problem with the company itself messing up. But the drivers are the same. I don't know. What is he looking at here? The latency. I don't know what I'm looking at. Oh, here, round trip latency at 48K. Interesting that the DAWs have different latencies. Yeah. Probably shouldn't. Anyway. So these guys are arguing about everything. So I told them, hey, they both run the same driver, so there shouldn't be any real difference in latency. If you're lucky, one may expose the hidden safety buffer and parameters, but aside from that, So the right answer, of course, I know I'm going to get in trouble for this. Psycho Monkey says, well, there's a reason exactly why what you want isn't available at exactly the price point you want. RME pretty much makes this exact same thing, by the way. Why on earth do you want a physical MIDI I/O though? It's just not under 1K. He's probably talking about a babyface or something. But yeah, don't kill yourself on the difference between two things that are pretty much, they test the same, they use the same drivers and stuff. One might be a little bit better, I don't know. But, if you make a claim and you don't bring any evidence, well, how am I supposed to do with that? All right. So here's the big news. This is the I told you so. I've been waiting 22 years for this I told you so. 20 something years anyway. I would say from 98 or 99, I've been waiting to say I told you so. So here's some music radar. Universal Audio Spark gives you native UAD plugins on subscription. Use them in your DAW without UA hardware. So I'll take all the apologies now. So way back in the day, way back in the day, I got one of these UAD things. The Universal Audio, the UAD one, the first one where they couldn't figure out how to get DirectX to work and things were just skipping and popping and crapping all over the place. And I looked at this DSP, this old video card that this thing was. And I said, there is no way this DSP is going to save you any CPU rather than running on the computer. And sure enough, when you went to run the thing, not only you do get latency from it. It's not that it's zero latency. You still got to get in and out. It had, the amount of CPU it used was unreal. Like it would just freeze you up. It was just worthless. And Justin, in early versions of Reaper, it may still even be in there in Reaper, made a couple ways to take away some of the problems of these UA devices, but there's no really to really fix it. And so what Justin did, we were at the NAMM show, my first NAMM show, together with Justin and Christoph. He offered to UA right in person to fix their drivers and make this thing work so their customers could be happy. And they said no. I have no intention of ever buying this junk after that, And I said, this is so weak looking, this DSP. This is a dongle. And I can't blame anybody for wanting to protect their intellectual property rights, but it is a dongle. And sure enough, a couple years ago, I think it was Brainworks came out with the plugin that ran both native and on the UAD. And you could run a bajillion of them native, and you could run a couple of them on UAD. I mean, it was a joke. It was a total joke. Should have called it there. I said, I told you so even back then, but people still don't believe me. But now, if you want that UAD stuff, if you really think it's magical, whatever, here you go. It's native. Like it always should have been. Like it probably always was. Somebody probably could have leaked the VST version way back in the day. So here you go. UAD stuff. If you really want it, there you go. Go buy a subscription, I would almost buy this stuff just because it's kind of neat. There's something magical about thinking the UAD is some magical thing, but in the end, it's DSP. It's DSP. It's DSP. It's DSP. There's nothing magical about it. There really isn't. But now you can get it. I don't want to buy a subscription for damn sure, but that's really all I got for this week. And I got so much to do. I got a lot of Helix stuff we're going to talk about next week, but that's when I'll see you next week. Hopefully I'll see you before then, but